Again, I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. And here we go.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Maloof. With me, as always, my co-host, Dante Troina. And Dante, we've got a couple of different things to talk about in this episode. A few announcements to start it off, and then we want to talk about a few movies that we recently watched. So go ahead, start us off.
Yeah, big announcement. I was scrolling through my Twitter today. I guess The Social Network 2, the long rumored potential sequel with Aaron Sorkin writing and directing this one, is officially greenlit or announced at this level. Not much known besides Sorkin being back.
Was it long rumored? Because this is, I think, the first I'm remembering, anyways, of hearing of The Social Network 2. This wasn't really on my radar.
I think he's always made comments like, if there's a story there, I might tell it. I think that's about what there's been. And I think there was a little like get the band back together type thing with him and Fincher a couple of years ago where they were like, oh, it might be worth it when Zuckerberg was in Congress and everything. But besides that, it's just been little rumors from, I think, people that just want to see more of it for whatever reason, wanting to stir the pot. I think I'm good. I'm good on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like, why? Like, I guess there is more story to tell there with, obviously a lot has happened with the company, Facebook, Meta, and all the stuff that's been going on with them. And it's in the past 10, 15 years since The Social Network was released. There's definitely some stuff to talk about there, but it just that movie does not feel like it needs a sequel at all. And this kind of, to me, it's very reminiscent of the announcement pretty recently that Fincher is doing a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel. Like, I think these two things are very similar, these two announcements of like movies that didn't really beg for sequels that I think are beloved films of the 2010s. And now they're getting sequels that don't really feel necessary. I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I think I would be more excited if Fincher was directing this.
Sure, but I think I like the comparison to the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel, especially, I mean, it ties right in with Fincher, right? But this begs for a sequel even less than that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even less. The Social Network is a movie that has aged so well with time and is set in such a specific time of Facebook's inception and the Winklevoss trial with Zuckerberg. And it's just, where do you go next? There's so much ground to cover now. Where, what setting do you choose? Are they going to put it around that Congress meeting or Zuckerberg trying to figure out what a water bottle is or whatever? Or what's going to be the setting of the movie? I love Aaron Sorkin. I think we both don't have anything bad to say about Aaron Sorkin as a writer. I mean, he's about as good as it gets for dialogue and just setting a quick story. But I don't doubt him that he can make a good movie out of it. I just don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's really, this news really kind of like caught me out of nowhere. I was caught really off guard when I saw this earlier today. So I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I mean, obviously I will be seeing this and I'm looking forward to watching it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I just hope it's not bad. I hope it doesn't. I mean, because you can't live up to the first one. It's kind of like Gladiator 2, like it doesn't, there's no, unless you make one of the best movies of all time, it's going to be worse than the first one. So like, why even do it?
Well, and it just won't be. I'm not trying to shoot it down already because there's a part of me that like, yeah, I'm excited because it's a new Sorkin project. I'm not excited for this, but is Eisenberg returning?
He has to.
Andrew
right?
Garfield won't be a part of it, I don't think.
I
The
don't see why.
Winklevoss twins, Armie Hammer's in purgatory anyways, so
That'd be fun to have him back though.
he's not returning. But it's just a where and why, and I'm so satisfied by The Social Network. I don't need a follow-up. I don't think I've ever itched for more of that. It's just such a perfect movie. I think we're going to be talking it more in our next episode about the best movies of the 21st century. It's a shoe-in on my list.
Yes.
It's probably, to me, the defining movie of our generation, or of that Zuckerberg generation, the millennials before us, right? It's not going to be as good as Fincher directing it and Cronenweth on behind the camera and our Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross returning for the score, because if not, what's even the point,
Yeah.
So you really got to get the whole band back together to even make me interested in this.
Yeah, this is just really, it's confusing. I don't really know what to think. So I don't really have a whole lot to say other than that, really, that I'm just kind of like, okay, here we go. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets killed along the way. It kind of ends up in development hell, but the report today was that it's been green lit, so that would, to me, insinuate that we're moving forward with this, that it is
Green
going to be
means go.
made.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just feels weird. It kind of feels like the Fincher Once Upon a Time in Hollywood thing, where it's like, is this real? Like this
Right.
feels like a April Fool's kind of joke, but it's
Right.
real.
Did I
So
get a disbussing filmed instead of
yeah,
discussing film on
yeah,
Twitter? Like, what's going on? It
yeah.
feels like an alternate universe type movie that just okay, like
Mhm.
so we go.
We shall see. Anything else on that before we move on here?
No, just I think you said the exact phrase I would say is like we shall see.
We shall
Let's
see.
let's see what ends up with this
If
one.
if Eisenberg's not coming back, then there really is no point. So I think you have to assume that he will again be playing that character. To me, that's I think what's most interesting about this is seeing him go back to that character, which is like was really
Sure.
fun to watch him in. But other than that, I'm not sure.
Right.
Um, Moving on, Dante, you wanted to mention quickly the new trailer for Weapons, the Zach Kreger horror thriller
Yeah.
movie that we're both incredibly excited for. I have not seen the trailer. I'm avoiding it. I've seen some clips, I think, circulating through Twitter. I think one particularly disturbing still of Benedict Wong, I think that we've all
Yeah.
seen. But what were your thoughts on this new trailer?
Well, on Benedict Wong too, somebody made a poster in the Shining style with like the high contrast of
Mm,
his face in yellow, and it was just disgusting. And they're like, if this was the 80s, this would be one of the most iconic horror images of all time. You know, it's already just the film stirred so much in us already with its marketing campaign and the way it's marketing the movie. And this was another trailer where I'm left more confused and with more questions about the movie than thinking I have any sort of answers or beat on the movie. I just know that it's a horror movie. I know that there's 17 kids from a classroom that are missing. I know some crazy shit's about to go down in a small town. I haven't been able to check the website. I don't know if they updated much on their
oh yeah,
website.
we should check the website.
We should absolutely check that after this. But I just think this is one that gets my juices flowing, man. Like this movie looks like it's gonna be really special. I think the more I hear about it and see about it, the more I'm intrigued by it, and the less I know about it right now too, which is even more exciting to me.
Like Tame Impala says, right? The less we know, the better when it comes to this sort
Absolutely.
of thing. I think I've been avoiding this trailer and any new stuff on this movie because for that exact reason, I don't want to know anymore. You already got me. Like I just want to see the movie.
Sure.
Um, but I'm glad to hear that the trailer is kind of continuing that. I feel like the people doing this marketing are really smart and they know not to give anything away. And they know that like less is more when it comes to marketing this movie. I think what the main reaction I saw on Twitter to this trailer was someone tweeting out, so what the fuck is this movie even about?
Right.
Which is like
Right.
exactly where I want to be. I know that is maybe
Right.
frustrating to some people, but like trust me, that's where we need to be on this movie.
Yeah, Weapons has got us where it wants us right now.
Yes.
Like we are the fish on the line right now. They're just taking control of us. I agree with you. It is from seeing the trailer. That was my exact reaction was, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what are we getting into? So we'll see shortly. This is another one I think I might try to avoid if there's a third one trailer, but there's also a part of me that's really tempted to see every little inkling of this movie up to it to see how it's marketed because it's been such a successful campaign already. Um, I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we haven't really touched too much about this on the podcast, but we are not going to be able to see this movie or like any of the summer releases, the fall or summer releases coming out this year because our local movie theater just closed, our only local movie theater, and it's not going to be open again until like it's renovated next year. So I think it's even better that I'm trying to avoid this stuff because
Right.
I'm not going to be able to see this movie for another, minimum month and a half probably after it's released. So
Yeah.
I really just want to like almost forget that it's even coming out and then get
Right.
excited all over again when I'm actually able to like watch it at home. Obviously, you and I would much rather be seeing this movie and every movie released this summer in a movie theater. But we don't have that luxury anymore. So we're just going to have to like do what we got to do. Um,
Right. It's our only movie
Unfortunate.
theater. It's not one, there's not a next one to drive to. We'd have to fly to the next
We live
movie
on an
theater.
island in Alaska, like we can't just like drive to the next town over. We can't drive to
Right.
Juneau to go see the
Just
movie.
hop on over.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Like when I saw August 8th, all I can think of is like, motherfucker.
I know.
I'm so pissed at myself that I won't be there opening night. like this and so many other movies coming out soon. Um, this is going to be a really cool summer movie season, and I'm bummed out that we're missing it because I'm more excited for things this summer movie season than I can remember
Yeah.
in my lifetime. Like there's more just bucket list movies after another since like 2014, I'd say for me.
Well, it's just such a fun time of year. Summer movie season
Yeah.
is so fun for us. We should probably table this discussion for another episode, which we will be doing about the closure of our local movie theater. We're gonna have some people on to like reminisce about it, discuss why it closed and like what we loved about it, just tell some stories about like experiences we had there. And hopefully we will also be interviewing the new owners of the movie theater on the podcast too. So stay tuned for that. Dante, do we want to switch over to the two movies we want to talk about this week?
Sure, let's get into it. What we can review is
Yes.
Predator Badlands, which came
Yes.
out, or sorry, not Predator Badlands.
What
Jesus
was it?
Christ, Killer of Killers.
Killer of Killers. Yes.
Predator Killer of Killers, which came out on Disney Plus and Hulu this week. Still hilarious. That stuff is getting dual released on Disney Plus, where you can watch a Predator movie.
And that's
on
where
Disney
we watched
Plus.
this one.
And that's where we watched this one. And all in all, I thought it was a fine attempt at something for me to watch. I didn't have huge feelings on it in either direction. It didn't give me any moments that I maybe stand out to me or I remember. But it wasn't inoffensively bad. It was just more of a, okay, if you're going to dump this off, good that you dumped it on Disney Plus and Hulu and not into a theater. Some interesting maybe world building that they're doing with Trachtenberg and his upcoming films. And this is kind of like a we'll see where they go next, because I think they very much are advertising that this is sort of like a prequel novel or some sort of thing that
Exactly.
would be in between Badlands and Prey.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about this movie. It feels like the prequel comic to Force Awakens or something akin to
Sure.
that, right? Like the story before the actual story, some
Yeah.
sort of setup. I honestly didn't enjoy this very much. I didn't hate it. I wasn't like offended by it, but I just couldn't really get behind anything. And it's because this is like an anthology style film where we have three separate characters throughout different periods of history that each fight a predator. They end up coming together at the end to fight this big ultimate predator king or whatever on the predator homeworld. But I didn't care about any of these characters. I didn't think the stories were very well told or executed. They kind of just felt like wash, rinse, repeat sort of thing, like over and over, like a lot of the same beats throughout each story. The characters weren't interesting. I don't know. I just was not really a big fan of this. I thought I was going to like it a lot more than I did. I usually like anthology films, but this one really just didn't do anything for me. I wanted to see all these characters get fucking killed by the predator, or at least
Right,
one of them,
right.
especially the last guy, the fucking like pilot guy. Like
He was actually annoying.
I hated him. I was really like when he got eaten by like some Attack of the Clone style monster in the Gladiator arena. I was like, oh, finally, like one of them died, and then no, he's like Drax the Destroyer inside of the thing's stomach, like trying to get out. So I don't know. I just did not really enjoy this very much. Just didn't really do it for me. Like you said, I think there's a lot of world building going on here. I think some of this will probably be referenced in Predator Badlands, maybe like kind of offhandedly, which honestly kind of worries me a little bit because I already am afraid that that movie is going to get bogged down in like all this other storytelling. They're already again talking about like Alien versus Predator, and that's kind of where this whole franchise started to fall apart in the first place when it gets so bogged down in like the lore of all this shit. And that's why Prey, one of our favorite movies of the last few years, was so fucking awesome because it just did away with all of that and was just like a back to basics, a primal movie in multiple senses.
Right. Show me the predator.
Exactly.
That's what I want to see. I think especially for something like Killer of Killers, we're going to it for the predator and for seeing just some badass stuff. And while the animation style I thought was okay, I really did feel like it took away from a lot of the kinetic nature of the action, where I didn't feel the impact of a lot of things that were happening on screen.
Right. Well, because these characters can do things in animation that you could never do in a live action movie, which in certain cases, like let's say Spider-Verse, lends all sorts of cool like opportunities to your characters. But that's also a superhero movie where it's okay if these characters do crazy shit that they could never actually do, like even in a live action movie. This, on the other hand, it's just like three normal people like fighting predators, and they do all sorts of insane, crazy moves and shit, and like stuff that would never actually be possible. I know it's an animated movie; you're not really supposed to think about that kind of stuff, but I couldn't help it. I couldn't help kind of being taken out of it and feeling like it was cheap in a way, that the animation
Right.
was allowing all this stuff to happen that I didn't really feel like was necessary or like to the story at all.
Well, and to me, the Predator ripping off someone's head in person is different than it ripping off someone's head in animation. There's just a
Yes.
different level
Yes.
of ick factor or excitement factor, depending on what kind of person you are watching these Predator movies. I think to me, like I kind of summed it up in a couple sentences. I've always wanted to see a samurai versus Predator film. I mean, ever since Prey,
I think
it
a lot
just
of
seems
people
to
have
me
been
like such a layup.
wanting that.
And even like Vikings versus Predator, like, oh yeah, bring it on. And I still want to see it. You know, I don't
Yeah, I
feel
don't.
fulfilled by this
No,
here.
not at all. No, I don't feel like we really got that. This to me is very
No.
much like a throwaway sort of thing. Like you said it perfectly, I think, when you said
Right.
it was just dumped on streaming. I don't think a lot of people outside of like crazy like movie freaks like us even have any clue that this movie exists.
Yeah.
They'll probably never watch
Yeah.
it. And people were also talking about Prey being quote unquote dumped on Hulu,
Right.
but that was such a good movie that it found an audience and people
Right.
people like rallied around it and said, why was this not released in the theater? This movie is fucking awesome. Like this should have been given a real release. Whereas this movie, on the other hand, feels like it was made for streaming and feels like it was kind of just made for fans of the Predator to kind of get us re-excited and kind of reacquainted with the idea of the world of the Predators and not just Prey, because that's like a much more self-contained story. It feels like this is much more grand, large-scale storytelling, trying to kind of reacclimate us, I think, to the world that we're going to continue in with Predator Badlands.
Well, make the Predator the ultimate predator again. You know, make us, that's part two. It didn't get me excited because I'm part of my excitement for Predator movies again is seeing a badass Predator, especially in this case. And we just didn't get that. Like once you realize in the first act or first anthology that it's going to be them beating the Predators, that was not exciting to me. And I was always waiting for a moment of maybe the Predator comes through and just mauls them at the end. Maybe there's this holy shit moment where it just reminds us who it is. And there's no moment like that got me excited about the Predator in and of itself. I know that's kind of a shallow way to look at some of maybe the Prey and Predator movies, but Prey had a lot of screen time to make me acquainted to Amber Midthunder's character. This maybe I think would have been better suited as an anthology series as well, with like 30 to 40-minute little episodes. And I think after the Vikings and the Samurai, they had no clue what they wanted to do with the third one, especially World War II pilot. Yeah, let's make that because that's an ultimate hunter, sure.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it slowly got worse and worse as I watched the movie. Did you have like a favorite section? To me, it was the samurai, I guess. I didn't like the two samurai as people, but I just like the setting and the visuals from that section.
Yeah, I guess just I would say the same thing if I had to pick one. I don't really know if I had a favorite because I don't really think I enjoyed any of them personally.
Sure,
I
sure.
mean, the third, the samurai one, it was fine. I mean, there's basically no dialogue, which is it's not a negative inherently to me. If you can tell a story without dialogue, like all the better. It just is like good on you for being able to tell a story.
But if you can
But
tell a story without dialogue,
if you can tell it properly, right? And I just
right?
didn't feel like I cared about any of the characters in any of the stories. Their stories are like so short that you don't really have time to be you're not given time to care
No,
about them, right? You're not
no,
given time to know anything about the characters. So that's why I really just wanted them to die because we already know the Predator. We already fucking like the Predator. We want
yeah,
him to win. Like
yeah.
that's who we want to
That's
win.
who we're
That's what we
rooting
want to
for.
see.
That's
Exactly.
why we're here.
And we always want to see the Predator win, but in Prey, when Amber Midthunder kills the Predator, we fucking love it because
Well, it
we
feels
like
like a
her.
small miracle too. It
Yes,
feels like she really earned that kill.
right. Like it
you
it
really
took her
feel
so
it.
long to figure that out and to outsmart the Predator and to finally figure out a way to kill him. And these guys just figured out in like 10 minutes. They fought the Predator for like 5 minutes and figured out a way to kill
Right.
him. And it feels like it was totally cribbing off of that Amber Midthunder move at the end when she finds a way to like she takes off his targeting system and she figures out a way that she can outsmart him and kind of use his tech against him. That happens in like every story in this movie, like in some way or another. And it just really feels like it's a ripoff of stuff we've already seen. It's Trachtenberg doing basically the same thing 3 times over that we've already seen before, but he's doing it in a much worse way that I just didn't think was very effective.
Yeah, it's really cool that someone has a love and appreciation for this franchise like Trachtenberg does. But I think he's also gotten a little bit too far ahead of himself with stuff like this, where it's like, it's cool that he has this pull. It's cool that he has the power to make this as a Disney original. It's cool, or a Hulu original. It's really cool that they supported this, but then it becomes a big nothing burger is what I'd call it, right? And
Yeah,
it makes me not more excited for Badlands. It actually makes me a little bit cautious about Badlands and where we're going with that movie.
I definitely agree. It does make me feel a little bit trepidatious about Badlands. I'm still very excited for that movie. I don't think this necessarily is a reflection of that at all, but it does feel a little bit like I don't know,
Where are we going?
exactly. Yeah, just overall not a big fan of this. I feel like it was kind of a waste of time, honestly. Like, why did Dan Trachtenberg spend any time or energy making this movie when he could have just been putting it towards Predator
Right.
Badlands? Like, this just
Right.
feels like maybe it's something that was like studio mandated, that they're like, we need to get something out ahead of time to reacclimate people to this world. I don't really know. It just, to me,
Sure.
doesn't feel like he directed this at all. It feels like if this could have just been anybody that directed this little animated movie that just didn't really do much for me. So that's all I really have to say about it.
Big long video game cutscene.
Yes,
Another movie that we were able to watch this week in rewatching for anticipation of 28 years later, which is getting some polarizing but looking like good reviews.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
Another movie we are not gonna be able to see this weekend with
Exactly.
fuck. Well, anyways, we'll see it when it comes out on streaming, I
Right.
guess.
And it'll be there for us, and I think we'll enjoy it or be polarized by it all the same. But we both rewatched 28 Days Later last night.
Yes, we did.
I had an absolutely great time just kind of reliving and reacquainting myself into this world, into this movie. I haven't seen it since I was like 14, 15, so there was just a bit that I forgot where it was a nice, refreshing rewatch. Um, I had a great time with it. I think there's a lot that you remember about the movie, like its fuzzy visuals and stuff that maybe I liked as a 14, 15-year-old, but I didn't quite understand. And now I've come to terms with the story a little bit more and grasping the understanding of it not being quite a zombie movie. And I like it even more than I liked it before. I don't just respect it now. I really like it.
Yeah, it's a fucking great movie, dude. It's really
Yeah.
good. Did you watch this with anyone last night, or were you solo?
By myself. I think the way it should be by
Yeah,
myself.
I watched this with my dad, my brother, and our friend Jacinda. Jacinda and my brother Max had never seen it before. My dad claimed to have seen it, but also didn't remember anything that was happening in
Classic.
it. So like
Yeah.
maybe he did see it once, a long time ago. This was a rewatch for me as well. I think I watched this 2 years ago in 2023, just kind of like had always heard that it was good. I love zombie movies. So I checked it out. This is when it was still on HBO Max before it like went into this like rarefied air where like no one could find it anywhere and you
Oh,
had to
right.
pirate it and the Blu-rays out of print, and it kind of like took on this even more crazy cult status over the past 2 years.
Right. Very
I think
fitting.
I think in part because of the new film that's coming out in the series, but I remember really enjoying it when I first saw it, maybe even being like a little off put by it because it's so fucking like
Yeah.
gritty and grimy. And
Yeah.
but this time around, really enjoyed it. Remembered like maybe the broad strokes of the story, but it was one of those things where I didn't remember like beat by beat. So like when Killian Murphy
Yeah.
is in his house and the zombie fucking like busts through the dining room window, and we
Yeah.
all jumped. Like I forgot that was gonna happen. This movie's so, like I said,
The kid zombie too scared
the
the
kid
hell out of me,
zombie.
man. Oh my
This
goodness.
movie's so tense the entire time. You
Yeah.
always feel like something bad is going to happen. And I keep saying zombie. I know technically this is not like a zombie movie. It's a rage virus, people infected with a rage virus, but like,
Sure.
come on, it's a zombie movie. It's
Right.
fast zombies. I had a really fun time watching this with other people and kind of watching their reactions too. Like my brother Max, like when he first meets the zombies and when the first real, because he goes in the church, they chase him out of the church, and then he goes
Right.
up
Right.
the stairs. And when
Yeah.
they're sprinting up the stairs, my brother's like, "Oh fuck!" Like
Right,
they're
right.
fast.
These
And,
ain't
like,
your grandma's
yeah,
zombies.
these are fucking like pissed
Yeah.
off, fast motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Such a good time if you like this kind of stuff. If you like stuff that is really raw and intense and just really fucking gross and bloody, and also this movie has all that stuff going for it. It's shot on like a VHS camcorder.
Right.
It looks so raw. It feels real. Like it feels
Feels
very
like found
real.
footage.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking
And
while watching it.
Cillian Murphy, this is very early days. Cillian Murphy.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
him in this. He's like just kind of so downtrodden and he's really like just kind of melancholic, I feel like, for most of the
Right.
movie. Danny Boyle, I think we should talk about him a little bit too, how like what a career this guy has had.
Right.
What a fucking amazing filmmaker that has just done all this kind of different shit. And I'm just so glad we have him back for 28 years later now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, I you knew I was going to steer the conversation in this, but Alex Garland too.
No, you're out.
Just what a writer, attacking at weird angles that make so much sense though when you see where he's going with things. Um, I want to do even more, and I know just a bit about how this movie was made and how it was made on a small budget and why they were shooting it like at dawn in the early mornings in Britain. But I thought it was really cool to just see some influences or see some interviews, sorry, with Alex Garland talking about his influences, which I watched last night after the film. There's a really good interview with him and Neil Druckmann, who is the creator of The Last of Us. And Garland is just talking over him the whole time and gushing about, I just love zombies. I love zombies. He's just telling how much he loves zombies. And he talks about the Resident Evil games and a little bit of like gaming, like Silent Hill type influence to it. And then obviously there's some Night of the Living Dead and some
Mhm.
novel influences. Alex Garland is always taking out of novels, but he is just such a fascinating writer. And I think you nailed it. Like it's a gritty, grim, very British movie in that
Yes.
sense too, where it's not like a hero's journey at all. It's very much just things happening in a found footage almost type format with that VHS grimy recording, and it feels like something that you like shouldn't be seeing. Like you're just experiencing what's going on. It's not really told in a traditional movie or film format. There's not much quite like it, but then it also influenced the language of The Walking Dead, of The Last of Us, of so many of these popular zombie shows and books and movies throughout the mid to now 2000s. It's somewhat of the blueprint, and it's in a really weird way, something that you, again, like I just understand it more now, looking back at it, because I think I watched it too young at like 14, 15.
Hmm.
Uh, I have more of a respect for this movie. It's a Garland one that just sits in your head for days. I agree with you about Danny Boyle. Like he's just had Slumdog Millionaire. Steve Jobs is one that sticks out to me always too. And then stuff like 28 Days Later, where it's like this guy can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's a really, really interesting filmmaker. And I think we should talk more about him and his career when we finally get to see 28 years later.
Right.
I think that's a better time to have that full like Danny Boyle career conversation, like because this is his now his newest film. Um, but this movie, I think, for how raw it is and how like unpolished it looks, it also has some really great cinematography,
Yeah.
like that totally plays into the aesthetic. Like even that shot towards the beginning when Cillian Murphy walks into the church and it's kind of shot behind the cross. There's a shot behind the cross and he's like walk in the foreground, he's walking in the background. There's a lot of really great shots in this movie. I think the best scene for me is probably when he wakes up. It just like puts you in that character's shoes
Right. Right.
immediately. You're like, holy fuck, what if that was me? What if
Yeah.
I woke up
From a
and
little
everyone
coma.
was gone?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
was in a coma and everybody was gone. Like, walking through the streets of London, it's completely deserted. That's such a cool visual. That's something that, like,
Right.
reminds me of, like, Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise, where he's walking through the streets of Times Square and it's completely deserted. But the difference is Vanilla Sky had, like, 20 times the fucking budget of 28 years later, and they were able to
Right.
pay to shut down Times Square. And Danny Boyle in this little zombie film they're shooting on a fucking camcorder were able to just do it. Like
Right. Right.
close
Just
some
get it
stuff off
done.
and do
Get
it in
it
the
done.
early morning in
Yeah.
London. It's like completely deserted. It's such a cool visual. It's so awesome. I love how he's just kind of walking through the city and the
He's
music
piecing things together and the
kind of
music slowly picking up.
I
Yeah.
love that the music kind of slowly fades in until you kind of are really noticing it. It's like pounding and driving, and that score is so cool. It's just such a great opening.
Right.
But the original, like the opening is really cool too, with the chimp being shown all
Right.
the
I
violent
forgot about that
images and
scene.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like classic Alex Garland to me. Like that
Right.
opening scene is like
Right.
classic Garland. You can really feel like it came directly from his mind. Um, I really love the cult status that this movie has taken on over the years. I think it's really cool. I think it's probably gotten a lot more people interested in this movie than like they otherwise would have been.
Right.
And to me, I think this is one of the best zombie movies I've seen probably ever. I think this is a
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really solid zombie flick, even though it's not actually zombies, it is. And yeah, I think it's one of the best ones I've seen off the top of my head that I can think of, anyways.
Right. And it's crazy to think that this was a like unique style at the time. And it still is a unique style and signature behind it, but it has very much influenced everything that we know zombie movies to be now. It's just what they are at this point. I like what you said about like Alex Garland at the beginning. Like that just feels like his mind
Yes.
behind it. I think him and Danny Boyle were really much trying to base it off of SARS at the time and base it off of Ebola,
Hmm.
which is something that gives you the red eyes. And they're very much trying to set it in a plausible world. And in that, Jim waking up from the coma at the beginning, Cillian Murphy's character, I think we all remember, like that's the scene is him waking up and him walking through London abandoned. Like that is what you pitch the movie to as somebody. And I think the movie gets better from there, but also that is as good as it gets as an opening for a scene could be, or a film could be. I really like what you brought up about the shots. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with so much B-roll in it,
Mm.
but it's very intentionally B-roll, and it's very at times slowly edited, and then also very flashily edited at some points. Even towards the end, it's kind of like jarringly edited, and it's very intentional. They do a very good job at creating the atmosphere. It reminds me sometimes of like that grungy, grimy, atmospheric vibe to Aliens, but it also contrasts a lot. Whereas like 28 years or 28 days later is more about the people in that atmosphere, whereas Aliens is about the atmosphere around the
Mm.
people. And I think that was really fun where it has, especially in the buildings a lot in the film, it has more tight shots and shaky cam and is trying to put you in the mind of the person as they're being chased as well, instead of focusing on the grander scale of things. And that's how they play with their budget was so much fun too.
Yeah.
An $8 million budget and grossed 82
Crazy.
million at the box office. So
Crazy.
it was a hit absolutely at the time. And that's why we have a trilogy now.
Yeah, I think it's cool that this movie was a hit, because
Right.
we never
Right.
saw this in the movie theaters. This was a little bit early for us to be seeing this kind of
Yeah,
stuff in a
we were
movie
three.
theater. Yeah, we were not going to see this. Um, but yeah, it's really cool that this was a hit. It spawned 28 weeks later the sequel, which I think is pretty okay. You haven't seen it, right?
Not yet. Going to.
You should watch it, but it's a far cry from this in many ways, which we don't need to talk about here. The thing that I keep going back to in this movie is the fact that this is only happening in Britain. Like
Right.
they are being quarantined on the island of Britain. I don't know how
Right.
you actually call it the island itself, but the island of Britain. It's only happening there, right? Like you're seeing planes flying overhead, and then they say that in the movie, like things are happening. The world is going on as is. It's just Britain. We're all fucking trapped here, and they've
Right. That was crazy.
quarantined
The
us.
question of has the rest of the world been infected? That was a
Right?
crazy, and I think the movie wants you to very much think yes, but you also don't see it.
No,
You
I
hear
don't.
it from them,
And
but
it hasn't, right?
right.
And it's revealed, right, that is literally just happening in Britain. I think that's a really cool concept. Again, something I don't think we've ever seen in
Very
any
dire.
other
Yeah.
kind of zombie thing before, where it's like, no, this is just happening in Britain. It stayed here.
Yeah.
Everywhere else is fine, and the whole world was just said, well, but you guys are fucked anyways. So like,
Right.
we're not helping you. Like we lost Britain. Oh no, like
Right.
might as well just keep going on with our lives. I guess it's crazy.
Exactly what would happen if we lost Britain
It's such a
anyways,
it's
in
such a
the real
cool
world.
concept though, because when you get zombie movies, they all the time it's like end of the world, right? It's like this
Right.
is going to spread across the entire world. It's going to destroy
It
everything. Like,
affects everyone.
right, this
Yeah.
affects everyone in the world. This is like much smaller scale, even though it's this crazy sci-fi concept of a base of like a rage virus, zombie epidemic, whatever you want to say, taking over and destroying one of the most powerful countries in the world. It's just that country because it's on an island,
Yeah.
and like there's no way for it to
Right.
go anywhere else. There's no way for that rage virus to move over to any other countries or get on a plane and anything like that. And I think that's really cool. It's just a fun concept that we haven't seen before, and I really appreciate that.
Well, it's extremely Garland, and it reminds me of Annihilation too, where that it's
Mm,
aliens per se, but it's slowly spreading, and they're just moving people away from the spreading shimmer, right? In that movie, where and it also fits in with this movie's themes, right? Where the whole third act is around, the general, the commander of the little army troop that they run into, saying that he promised them women, You know, the promise of a better land, the promise that maybe someday they can escape to a better world again, and maybe it'll continue, or they'll go slowly insane here. And he promised them a sinister twist in the third act because you
Yes.
know something's up with these guys. You just assume because you've just seen it play out so many
Yeah.
times, and you know something's up with this troop. You know something's a little bit off of them, and the "I promised them women" line just cuts right through your entire body. It gives me chills talking about it now, and it's in true Alex Garland fashion, playing with all the themes of the movie, and also jumps past what you thought the twist might be. You know the twist is going to be bad, and then you hear that line, you're like, "Oh!" It puts it into perspective really quick, but it makes so much sense. You know, the giving humanity hope in times like this, and the hopelessness of being the. Of course, you know you lost the lottery. You're in Britain now, and you're in this pandemic, and there's a weird, real feel to it where it does very much Boyle and Garland, I think, thought out the entirety of this movie and the themes they want to attack. And that makes me so much more excited for 28 years later with them returning because I just know they're going to nail it.
Yeah. How do you feel about the ending?
Yeah, kind of interesting with the fighter jet going
Yes.
by them.
What's your take? What are your thoughts on the ending?
I don't have a huge take on it. I forget the final line that they say to each other. But there's just
I
I
think the
think
final
it's
line is like,
trying.
I think they saw us. I think they saw
Do
us
you
that
think they
time.
saw us this time?
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's trying to instill a little bit of hope at the end. But I don't know. I haven't seen 28 weeks either, so I don't know how they build on
It
that.
has
I
nothing to
don't
do.
have a
28,
huge, okay.
28 weeks is different characters completely. It does
Oh,
not
okay.
continue this story at all.
Okay. And that's, I think, a lot of people said that it was a completely detached sequel, so
It
that's probably
is.
why I hadn't ventured towards it yet. Um, and I don't know much about the ending. I feel like I need to see more to it. Now knowing that there is a 28 years later,
Hmm.
I don't know if that ending will be directly referenced, but I think they'll build on that world where, you know, there's obviously some sort of army or something that's going around. The British Royal Air Force or whatever is going around looking for people. I think it's an interesting shot with the hell, and then they're making it into hello,
Hello.
right?
Yes.
And just a very trying to give hope in the ending, maybe, or trying to give this feeling that they're gonna be rescued. I think that's the only takeaway I get away from it.
Yeah, I think you're right with like the
Just
hopeful
gave me
ending.
chills.
It's like finally like we have a nice moment at the end of this incredibly dire and grim movie, like some sort of levity at the end. Um, but I don't know, like are they going to get rescued? Because they're not saying
Right.
help, they're not saying SOS, they're just saying hello. And they seem like
Sure.
they're living a pretty nice little life on this like
Sure.
farm in this countryside somewhere else in the UK, I'm guessing.
Right.
Maybe like Scotland or Ireland or somewhere. I'm not really
Like
sure where
they've
they're
almost
supposed to be.
accepted what's going on at
Hmm.
this point.
Seems like they're kind of just like away from it enough, but we also see some infected like in the ditches, like as the plane is flying
Right.
overhead. So like, how safe are they? I feel like it's a bit of a confusing ending, or if not confusing, maybe just kind of like a little anticlimactic, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't hate it. It just feels like, oh, okay, like it just maybe like you said, it feels like a nice kind of moment of peace, of levity at the end of this incredibly grueling
It's
journey
a
these
we
people
need
have
an
been on.
ending. It very
Yes.
much is. And I
Was
don't
it?
think they wanted to explain as much at the end either. And so I think that was a very good cop out for them as an ending. I don't think it's some great ending. I remember like more so the feeling than the moment itself,
Yeah.
of just feeling like maybe there's some sense of relief in this world. Um, but also it does feel very much like okay, it needs to be under 2 hours. Let's wrap up the movie. It doesn't like trounce on the film's themes or really give it this huge like going back on the rest of the movie and ruining anything for me, but
Yeah,
it
no, I
doesn't
don't think
also
so.
improve on anything for me either.
Yeah, there are also like multiple alternate endings. I watched the special
Oh, really?
features last night and watched a couple of the different alternate endings. Most of them just end with Cillian Murphy dying instead of living. And so then
Oh,
it's just those two. Like there's one where the ending is just him dying in on this operating table. And then there's another one where he dies and then the ending is the same, but just with Naomi Harris and the little girl and not him. Like they still go out and signal the plane and everything, but it's just the two ladies and Cillian Murphy isn't there. There's another one where he's like dying on the operating table, but he's also having all these hallucinations and flashbacks to like his life before the outbreak when he was like a delivery like mailman or something, like a
Oh,
postal, like a
okay.
postman or newspaper boy, whatever you want to call it. And there was another one on there which I didn't watch, which was titled The Radically Different Ending, and it actually has storyboards mixed in there because it was an ending that they never even shot. So
Okay.
I didn't watch that one, but I maybe would be curious to go back and see all the different endings that they have for this movie. Watching those three different ones that I did, I think this was the correct choice. I
Okay.
think this was the proper ending.
I would really love to, because I had a bit of it, between last night and now, to just kind of experience the creating of this film. And I think that's what I'm going to dive into more going forward with this movie, is that it is a classic, like, again, Garland film that just sits with you for days after you watch it. You just start to wonder how, and especially with how Boyle did this as a director, like, did they film it in chunks and pieces, and did they kind of piece together the story as they're going along? I'm sure they have a lot of alternate footage in that little mansion with the army soldiers as well,
Mhm.
right? Like I'm sure there's tons of different takes in there and different things that they explored at that part of the movie. Maybe with the guy that was chained up too, and
Yes.
just the weird experimentation or trying to understand or grasp what's in front of them with the zombie and also what society is going forward with one of them dressing up like a woman and cooking and just the slowly, like, you're not there yet, but you're at the point where they're starting to slowly lose hope. It
Mhm.
is 28 days. I like that it refers to, I guess, the 28 days after you get an infection. It's where you're at peak immunity when there is a virus or whatever, is
Hmm.
what I was reading about too. Like,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
it's so many classic, like, okay, Garland sat in a room and really thought about
Uh-huh.
this
Uh-huh.
things. And so it's just cool to know that there's more meaning than that, just them picking 28 days after.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts on this movie, and one thing that I keep going back to, is the collaboration between Alex Garland and Danny Boyle. I think it just like fits so perfectly together, and I'm glad they've continued working together. They worked together before this actually with The Beach, right? The Danny Boyle
Right.
film based on Alex Garland's first novel. Then here with 28 Days Later, then Sunshine, or was
Sunshine. Yeah.
Sunshine after this movie? And now we're back again with 28 years later. I've never seen The Beach, but the three, I guess the two, this one and Sunshine, the two collaborations between Danny Boyle and Garland I've seen so far, I've enjoyed quite a bit. I think this next one, 20 years later, is going to be very, very good. I've heard good things. We have talked about this a couple times on the podcast, how excited we are for this movie. I think it looks amazing, and I don't think they can let us down. So I'm really excited by, and if anything, just watching this movie just got me that much more excited again
Right.
to go see 28 years later.
Right. I guess my final thoughts are I wanted to quickly shout out John Murphy and his score.
Sure.
I really liked it. I think it shapes the sound for a
Yeah.
lot of things like, The Walking Dead and Last of Us Again are the ones I keep bringing up because I think those are two that are most directly derived from
Well,
this.
great technical
This.
elements throughout this movie, right? Score, I
Right.
think the production design, the set
Oh yeah.
design, the red eyes of the zombies and the throwing up blood
Yes,
and
it's
the,
such an iconic look in such a short time. And even like the posters and just down
yes.
everything, the attention to detail, the movie's so in sync with itself. I think this is something I always bring up, especially about when I really love a movie. It's when everything is intentional about it and everything was chosen from the font to
Yes.
the credits to the
Well,
everything. And
that's
that's
a
what
mark
this
of a
movie
great
is,
Danny
right?
Boyle film, is he has amazing taste, and he's
Right.
so collaborative, and he's able to bring in all these people that are so great at their one specific thing, and to make a lot of his movies
Right.
truly greater than the sum of their parts. And I think that's what you get here.
Absolutely. I think a lot of movies get their influence overstated a bit. This is not one of them. This one, I think uh, knowing the influence of it, I was even more surprised by how influential this movie was when I watched it last night and looking into what it inspired. This is truly something special and something that I think is just for whatever grungy and grit and the time it was made in, there's some weird timelessness to it as well, and that's what makes it a cult classic, and that's what makes it one that I'm gonna maybe make a point to revisit a couple more times throughout my lifetime.
Yeah, I think despite how grim and dark this movie is, it is like weirdly rewatchable.
Right. Well, in the scene, like, with Frank, Brendan Gleeson's
Mm-hmm.
character and his daughter, and when such a clever, way to infect him too, with the raven going up and the
Mm-hmm.
drop of blood going into his eye
Yep.
directly. It's just so smart. It's all their themes or all their little motifs hitting at once, right?
Yes.
And him yelling, "Get away from me!" Like that is so grim, dude. And like the twist of "I promised them women" is so grim, and the opening shot of him walking through an empty London is just it's a very demotivating movie.
Yes.
But it is also one that somehow pulls together to be one that I'd like. I love movies when I
Mm-hmm.
after I'm done watching it. Like it does just make me fired up about loving movies and how they're made and everything that goes into them, because it is something that's so special, such a lightning in a bottle moment, and which is weird to say for something that is so as small as this movie may be. It is something really big and special, and something that has lasted this long for a reason.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to leave this conversation. If you haven't seen any of these 28 days, weeks, years, later's movies yet, you definitely should watch them. I saw this stupid headline. I think it was from Deadline, or I don't, maybe not Deadline, but it was maybe like Cosmo, and the headline was what is the proper order to watch the 28 movies? The 28, what is the proper order to watch these movies in? I think there's only one proper order to watch these movies in. You go 28 days, then 28 weeks, then 28 years later. Watch these movies if you like fucking raw, hardcore, zombie, fucking bloody shit. It's awesome. But also if you like the craft of filmmaking, like
Yeah.
especially 28 days later. I can't say as much about 28 weeks, but 28 days later, absolutely, is firing on all cylinders. We love
Yes.
it. I think if you like zombie movies, dude, this is right up your alley. Especially if you're interested in the new one. Let's leave it there, I think. Thanks for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Follow Dante and I on Letterboxd. You can see our reviews of all these movies there. Make sure you follow the podcast, Cinema Cult Podcast, on Apple, Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And thank you for listening. We will be back very soon with another episode, probably about the closure of our beloved local movie theater. So stay tuned for that.